everyone. I'm Ethan Liu with 10 minutes of news from here in Taiwan and around the world. Taiwan's presidential race is now officially underway as the January elections enter their final run. Louis Watt reports from the Central Election Commission.
Taiwan is entering its official election season. The Central Election Commission has just announced the names of the presidential and vice presidential candidates on the ballot. There's no surprises there, but Taiwan's 28-day official election campaign period kicks off now.
竞选活动的期间呢，将自112年的12月16日开始，一直到113年的1月12日为止。
That period means special rules are now starting. For example, any campaign material, whether that's banners, flags or billboards, has to be marked clearly as promotional. Having to abide by those rules are the candidates from the three main parties, Lai Ching-te and Bi Kim-hsiao from the ruling DPP or Democratic Progressive Party, Hou You-yi and Zhao Shaokang from the main opposition Kuomintang or KMT, and Ko Wen-je and his running mate Cynthia Wu from the third party, the Taiwan People's Party. You may have thought that campaigning had been going on for months already in Taiwan's elections, but now it's set to ramp up as the candidates rally to convince Taiwan's 19.5 million eligible voters that they're the best on the ballot. Joseph Wu, Yu Chen-lai and Louise Watt at the Central Election Commission for TaiwanPlus.
As election day nears, many voters are figuring out ways to get back home. Unlike in many countries, Taiwan doesn't do absentee voting, something that's unlikely to change anytime soon. John Van Trist explains.
Democracy at work again. Soon, voters in Taiwan will line up at the ballot box to choose a president and lawmakers. Many will travel far to get to their polling place, some for most of the day. That's because in Taiwan, you can't necessarily vote where you live. Instead, you vote wherever your family is registered. When election day comes, that's where you have to go, even if it's at the other end of the country. Try to vote anywhere else, and you'll be turned away. It is possible to break off from your family's registry and declare your own household, but it's a bureaucratic process, and you have to pay more tax. So most people who've moved away just make the trek home to vote. The system is especially hard on Taiwanese citizens living abroad who have to stay registered in Taiwan and fly back before Election Day. Taiwan isn't the only country with this kind of family registry system, but it's unique in not allowing early or absentee voting of any kind.
Unlike South Korea and Japan, Taiwan has never actually developed an alternative procedure. Part of the reason for that is that there's concerns about fraud or voter impersonation.
It may keep elections transparent and quick, but not all citizens think it should be quite so rigid. One big push to change things came ahead of elections last year, back when COVID-19 rules were still in force. These rules kept thousands who were still in quarantine from being able to go out and cast their ballot.
So there was a lot of criticism directed at the Central Election Commission then for not developing an alternative mechanism for people to vote. And the CEC's response was, well, we don't have legal authority to do that.
And so things stayed as they are. This year has seen another call for change, this time from prison inmates. Although this group is legally allowed to vote, they're prevented from doing so in practice.
2005年以后，褫夺公权里面已经把不能投票这个规定拿掉了，所以其实受刑人其实他从头到尾就是有投票权的，在已经有18年的时间，他们有投票权，但是没有投到票。
But like a failed prison break, lawsuits to change this have made it through the court, then hit a wall. Taiwan's constitutional court has rejected a suit by NGO Prison Watch that would require prisons to set up polling places, effectively a form of absentee voting. Prison Watch says it hasn't given up the fight. It even says there's been some signs, though disappointingly small ones, that things could still change.
其实在前2年的时候，行政院有推一个公民投票法，是全国不在籍投票的。但很可惜的是说，这一届的那个立法委员到这是最后一个会期了，都没有让这个法案就是真的有通过。 而且也比较不敢去碰。
But it says Taiwan's lawmakers, and the public more generally, just aren't comfortable with the idea of absentee voting.
所以我们以前选举其实也是蛮黑暗的，有那种突然关灯票就丢下去的，或者是说有那种很多作票的情形。那也因此就是会让我们对于像是就是通讯投票的信心不足。
But that was decades ago, when Taiwan was still under authoritarian rule. Since then, it's become a robust and transparent democracy. But it still has a way to go to ensure all citizens can reasonably exercise their right to take part and have their voice heard. Howard Zhang and John Van Trieste for TaiwanPlus.
A local official has become the first to be detained over potential election interference from China. The neighborhood chief from Keelung in northern Taiwan took 33 people on an essentially free trip to China in November. He's one of several people being investigated for organizing similar visits where Chinese officials allegedly urged travelers to vote for or against certain parties in January's elections. Prosecutors are looking at whether this violates Taiwan's election and anti-infiltration laws they apply to hold the Keelung chief in custody due to a possible flight risk. Taiwan's government is responding to a massive oil spill after days of inaction. The spill was first spotted off the country's east coast early in December. The Ocean Conservation Agency is still looking into where the leak came from, but says it's likely from ships illegally dumping oil. Volunteers say authorities need to make sure cleanup efforts cover all affected areas.
We have a lot of people that will be following up to make sure to actually clean up everything. But it's not only in Dali where we have all these oil on. We have more places around. Here, for example, in this area we're right now, there are more beaches that we need clean up as well.
The museum has unveiled Taiwan's first ever complete blue whale skeleton. Pingtung's National Museum of Marine Biology and Aquarium showed off the results of nearly 4 years of restoration work on Friday. The carcass of the juvenile whale was the first of its species to wash ashore in Taiwan in early 2020. Blue whales rarely strand on beaches, and only a few carcasses have ever been recovered for display or research. There are just about 24 skeletons in the world open for public viewing. A town in central Taiwan is celebrating a 100-year-old Doist Festival. Tiffany Wong has the story.
Sending up a signal for luck with the Chinese symbol for good fortune. These residents of Puli, a small town in central Taiwan, are celebrating an over 100-year-old Taoist tradition to bring peace and good health to their town. Known as the Qingjiao Festival, it's a week-long ceremony held every 3 years. Residents pay a small tithe to help build these altars where they welcome deities, including Taiwan's sea goddess Mazu, to the town. It's a practice that's been recognized as an intangible cultural asset by the county government.
那这123年的当中，它从来都没有中断过。前埔里镇的镇民几乎是总动员，所以因此才能够得到评审委员的青睐，所以列为无形文化资产。
One of the major customs is adopting a vegetarian diet for the week. This year, some locals got entrepreneurial and opened new vegetarian shops.
我跟我朋友是想说这一段时间有空，对，就想说来尝试做一下这个生意看看，这样。对。这几天生意还好？这算是我们第2天啊，就是也算刚开始。目前的起头算是还不错。
And while visitors may not have expected to be caught in the middle of this local event, some didn't seem to mind.
这个时阵可能较歹做啊，较歹做吼。无来入境随俗啊，安尼啦。
Despite the food restrictions, it's one of the most exciting times of year to visit the town. And these dedicated residents will make sure that this tradition continues for years to come. Dolphin Chen and Tiffany Wong for TaiwanPlus.
Thank you for watching today's What's Up Taiwan. I'm Ethan. Take care, and I'll see you next time.